focus on people actually wanting to live in Dade County, especially people that haven't ever lived in Dade County. We don't have a draw. Broward County looks beautiful. The parks are huge. Their quality of life is very nice. If you want people to pay their fair share of taxes and not gripe about it, it needs to look nice. The police need to respond with, extreme speed. The fire department needs to have everything they need. The libraries need to be staffed adequately. If we focus on the qualities that people look for in county government, we can fix we can draw in more people to fix the declining budget, and it will help increase the property values because people want to live here. They desire to be in a place where everything functions nicely. It does not function nicely right now, and we keep cutting the parts that people want to use and have access to.
As most of you know, I'm a businesswoman, over 15 years in business, and I have to tell you that this is the one issue that definitely keeps me up at night. I'm very concerned about the budget issue. And I, however, do not think that this is the time to raise taxes. I do know that most of us in business, most of us at our homes are hurting tremendously and cannot handle a raise in our taxes at this point in time. I will tell you that we do need to very carefully look at every budget item, and we are going to have to make some very difficult decisions. First place I would start is with the county manager. I do not understand how our county manager makes over $400,000 a year when the chief of staff of the President of the United States makes $172,000 a year. The President of the United States makes $227,000 a year. The Vice President makes $174,000 a year, and I could go on and on. It is unbelievable the amount of money that some of the people at the county make. We have got our priorities completely backwards, and those are not sound business practices, and that is the first place where we need to start. We need to start there. I do want to say something about the Marlins because I was very much against it. I am part of many business organizations that were for it. I stood up with every one of these groups and told them to their face how this was such a mistake and so wrong, and it should go to the voters if you were going to spend our tax dollars. However, I do want to explain that those are bed tax dollars that cannot be used for just anything. However, they could have been used for our Visitor and Conventions Bureau and many other things that could bring visitors to our community for tax dollars.
Most of the problems that we're having financially probably could have been prevented through regular audits and a check and balance system, which I never really saw actively in place or used efficiently. In 2004, and I'll stand corrected on the date, there was a strategic plan, which was on the county website. And it was kind of like the watershed. The strategic plan went through every county department to see if it was operating efficiently, and it's never been utilized, or if it has been utilized, it's not very effectively being utilized. Some of the plans I would start with are pretty much in line with what I've heard. It needs to start at the top of some of the administrative jobs. And I don't mean mass firings and mass layoffs. What I mean is as people are leaving positions within County Hall, combining departments, moving people into other positions, that's one way to start getting the government a little smaller, because right now as cities incorporated like Miami Gardens and Cutler Bay, instead of our government at the county level shrinking, it expanded. So we're doing less, or should be doing less, but we're not. And nobody can explain to us why. So I think that is one issue we could also look at. And I have enough. But some of the most important things are very elementary and very basic when it comes to the financials. Obviously, each item has to be brought through the budget, but again, it goes back to the audit department of County Hall. How many times are we paying 3 times for the same item? How many times are we taking the lowest bid on the project and then there's 4 change orders coming in? How many of the same vendors are we seeing there and we have the same problems, but yet they still get new contracts? I think those are things we need to look at. And with that, I'll leave it.
The question specifically dealt with principles. What principles did you utilize in the face of declining tax revenues and in the face of often having services cut? The principles of honesty, integrity, the principles of cutting from the top and not cutting from the bottom, the principles of doing what is in the best interest of everybody in the municipality, in the county, those principles of good governance. You know, one of the things I will tell you, when I became mayor, before I was mayor, we had change orders, we had cost overruns, we didn't have a lot of fiscal accountability. In the 2 years that I was mayor, we had 0 change orders, 0 cost overruns. There were 2 companies that were pretty upset because they put in change orders and we did not grant them. This is the contract, this is the amount that you agree to, that's all you're going to get paid. We also partnered. Partnerships. What can we do and do well, and what does somebody else do well? We partnered with the Chamber of Commerce to manage certain things that we were doing. We also made partnerships. Let me tell you, so many things that you can do in so many areas you can look for valuable resources. One of them is the prison system. When you, and we've been paying we have been paying a large maintenance contract to maintain all the common areas and common properties within the city of Homestead. So what we did is we bought our own mowers, we kept the contract, but we put it out to bid again, we cut it almost in half, saving the residents $2 million over 5 years. Then we also contracted with the prison system and put the non-violent criminals with guards, and you pay a little bit of money, and have them doing common maintenance, plus your own Parks and Recreation Department, plus your contract. And you still have a beautiful city, you still maintain services, and you do it for a fraction of the cost that you did. That's principles, and that's what the question dealt with. What are the principles that you would bring? It's the very same principles of good governance that I will bring to Miami-Dade County when I am next commissioner, because I know how to do it. I know how to cut costs. I know how to do more with less, because we've done it before. We were the hardest hit city in the entire United States. So we know how to do that. We know how to cut costs. We know how to be fiscally responsible. That's not just a term.
Time.
That's
The battery.
The Miami-Dade County Commission attempted to apply a rule of cutting fairly across the board. Attempted to do that. Did not convince all employee groups that was done. I want to give you an example of why that might not have happened. Using Jackson Health. Nurses were asked to come back and give again after they've already agreed to a significant give back. And I have to say that from the perspective of that group, if they read the newspaper, and of course they do, they don't feel they've been treated fairly. They don't feel that the cuts came in the right place first. To give you an example from the conversation I had with Dr. Anita Roldan, CEO of Jackson Health, she told me that this was actually, before it was in the paper, she said, we may see $80 million write-off for our changeover in our accounts receivable system. I said, well, why is that? I said, well, it turns out that when they went to the new system, they lost that amount of money in receivables. I asked, well, did you import the receivables from the old system to the new one? She said, no. I said, did you run the two systems in parallel in order to collect the money before you closed down the system? She said, no. I asked her, did you fire the person who made that decision? I was satisfied with her answer. She said, yes.